Are you calling me?
Deb
No, you
or
called me.
Elenia, if
Sorry,
you want to mute
okay, mistake.
Marta
Bye.
yourself, you can mute her, whoever the host is. Great. Okay. Well, I'll just try to start then. All right. Well, thanks everyone for having me. I don't have AI specifics in this talk, although I have some AI stuff. So we'll keep that theme going too. My name is Justin Shaffer. I am the Associate Dean of Undergraduate Studies and a teaching professor here at the Colorado School of Mines, just west of Denver. I'm in the Quantitative Bioscience and Engineering program and our Chemical and Biological Engineering department. And today I want to talk to you about some of my traditional STEM courses and how I've added authentic assessment to them and authenticity in general as a way of thinking about alternative assessment. If you want to snap the QR code now, go for it and get the slides. I'll have it again at the end of the talk. If you do grab it now, though, don't look ahead. I don't want you to ruin my dumb jokes. Okay, so just let those will come as they may. All right. Again, not an AI talk, but I got some AI stuff. And what I've been doing recently, I've been really fascinating with the image creators, you know, Dolly and other ones out there. I like the one from Bing. So what I do, and tell me this is stupid, please, but I like to take the title of my talk and give it to the image generator and ask it to make a cartoon of it, and then I show it. So here's what it did. So a cartoon for adding authentic assessment traditional STEM courses. This is what I got. I don't know why. Horses are authentic. Strawberries with faces are, whatever it is, I love it. So I encourage you to play around with the Bing Image Creator and other tools to see what kind of silly stuff it makes for, and you'll see, I got a couple more of these coming later too. So just be warned. Okay, so by the end of this talk, you'll be able to explain what a high structure course is, describe the benefits of teaching with high structure, describe the ways you can add authentic components and assessments to a high structure course, and identify ways that you can add authenticity to your own courses. All right, so first I have a question. I'm gonna use a chat, so hopefully if you're all there and paying attention, love to get some thoughts on the chat with you. So first, whenever I teach a class, and I'm going to tell you what high structure is in a second, but whenever I teach a class, I end the class with this question, and it's a survey. What was the most useful part of the class in terms of learning the material? And I ask students to select one. So I give them some options. And I force them to pick one. So here's my 5 options. And just so you know, for context, this is when I used to teach at UC Irvine in Southern California. I taught intro bio, 440 students at a time, 880 eyeballs, however you want to think of it. I also taught human anatomy there, and I had 5 options. So what was the most useful part? Reading the textbook, number 1. Textbook plus reading guides, and these are Word documents that I make and that are help students be more familiar with the material. Okay, in-class lessons. So that's me, right, in class. Online assignments. So this could be your publisher-provided learning materials, courseware, whatever you want to call it. And then a discussion section we had for intro bio and a lab section for the anatomy class. Okay, so I want you to think about this for a moment. If you had to pick one, which one do you think that was the most popular response? What's the most useful part of learning the material? I'm going to ask you to type your number in the chat, but don't hit enter just yet. Hold on to that number. And then when I count to 3, we'll have them all come out at once. I've learned this technique from others. They call it the waterfall, I think, with the chat box. So if you got your number typed in, all right, I'm going to count down from 3. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. All right. See, it all comes at once. It's awesome. All right. So I see a lot of 3s, a lot of 5s. All right. Maybe a couple 2s and 4s. Okay. So you're kind of focusing on those more interactive pieces, right? In class, discussion sections. Well, here's what I've got. All right. So this will make more sense in a moment. And when I first got these data, I was like, oh no, what did I do? Because that's me, right? I do the in-class lessons, so something went wrong. But then I realized, these are high structure courses. I'm okay after bruising my ego a little bit. So what's going on with this? Why do I think this makes sense? Why are textbooks and reading guides so powerful? So to understand that, we got to understand high structure course. So high structure courses came out of University of Washington, Seattle, and biology education research there. So I'm a DBER person, discipline-based education research. I'm not a real education researcher. I fake it. I'm in the discipline though, right? I'm trained as an engineer and a biologist. And this work came from Scott Freeman, Mary Pat Wunderroth, 2 of the biggest names in our biology education research field. And the idea with this is that we start with backward design. So we're going to have our objectives first at the foremost, like I had in this talk too. And then we design our assessments, then our activities that follow. And with this, the activities and assessments, we kind of break it up into 3 buckets. So with high structure, we have a B4 class bucket. So students are going to acquire content from textbooks or videos, and then self-assess with some pre-class quizzes, or I call them reading questions. But this is where that reading guide comes into play. So students are doing some stuff before class. In class, ton of active learning. We're getting students engaged, activities, problem solving, clickers. I'm a big clicker guy, anything like that to get students really engaged in the learning process. And then after class, some kind of study and review, some kind of self-assessment, review quizzes, homework, you name it, and then also frequent, more summative assessment. Personally, I've moved to a weekly quiz model, no more midterms, kind of more frequent summative assessment. Although if you have the midterms, that's great. Maybe try to have more of them as well. So this is the high structure model. And so when I ask the students, well, what do you learn the most? Well, those reading guides and textbook, well, that makes a lot of sense to me because I'm able to move some stuff ahead of time. And this is just one of many benefits with teaching with high structure, as long as it's aligned. This is the other word we want to use here is alignment. So whatever students are doing before class, we go to in class, after class. So we're building as we go across the spectrum here. And there's a lot of benefits with high structure. A lot of it comes from the evidence-based literature. So students perform better. We see this across a variety of courses now. Performance gaps. So this is differences in student groups. Historically, students who struggle or have performed lower than others. So for example, male students doing better than female students in physics. But those gaps get smaller when you use high structure. Students also feel more belonging. They make more friends. They feel more connected to their university, to their community. Okay. You can do more active learning and more higher Bloom's activities in class. So by moving some of that material ahead of time, right, using those reading guides, having students read or watch videos ahead of time, I don't have to talk about all the basic stuff in class. Right? I can hold students accountable for that. I even have a new word for this type of lecturing, so I'm okay with lecturing as long as we kind of carefully pick and choose what we lecture about. And we don't have to lecture on everything, but there's certain spots where we need to talk through things. So I call this selecturing, right? We're selectively lecturing on the more difficult topics or to introduce activities, things like that. We can also help students develop self-regulated learning skills. So students have frequent assessment in this model, helping them check their learning, check their progress on things, okay? So that's the big picture here on high structure. Please, if you got comments or questions, put them in the chat. Tina, you got it. Anything you want, go for it. Please do use that chat box and I'll try to respond live if we can, but we'll hopefully have time at the end too. Okay, so high structure, right? I've been teaching this way for over a decade. I do education research in this space. One of those reference numbers there is mine, I believe. So, I do this work too. And, so this is all pretty cool. And let me tell you a little bit more about my courses too. So I teach in a variety of STEM disciplines with this, right? So that's what's so great about this. It's not restricted to biology where it came out of, we got intro bio I teach. I use this for anatomy and physiology. I also teach chemical engineering, intro thermo, as well as material and energy balances, which is kind of like our survey level course for chemical engineering, like an intro course. And then I teach introduction to biomedical engineering. And again, my research kind of focuses on all of these components. JD, great question. So we want students to prepare. We got to give them a little bit of points there. So first, have those pre-class reading questions or quizzes, give a little bit of points there to help students do it, but give them lots of tries, a lot of formative assessment there. So lots of chances to get it right, if not unlimited, but then also that alignment piece, right? So if we build on what happens in class, students are going to need to be accountable for what happens before class. All right. So again, I think this is all great, and I'm saying it here, but I'm kind of tired, to be honest. So again, I've been doing this now. It's year 12 of high structure. It's great. I love it. Students give me good evals. They come back to some of the class. Students take all 5 of those classes with me. I've won teaching awards. I published on it, whatever. But that weekly model, and I do a weekly model of homework, quizzes, right? It's not authentic is the word I'm looking for here, right? So I had this idea, and I got this from my wife, because she tells me I need to be more authentic. So I thought, okay, my courses need to be more authentic too. Okay, so how do we do that? All right, so how do you add authenticity to a high structure STEM course? And I've done a lot of these already. I'll tell you, even though I'm saying I'm tired, I need to do something different. I've done a lot of this already. I'll tell you what the new piece is here in a moment. And I've kind of organized these by what I think is easier to add to a course, down to more difficult or harder to add to a course. So you can do things like integrating news stories, right? So what's going on in the world? In the fall, I was teaching anatomy and physiology. Aaron Rodgers blew out his Achilles. Great, awesome. We can add that into class, right? Make it a little more connected to the real world. Adding problems from real exams. You can add, if you're in the biomedical sciences, use MCAT problems, use NCLEX for nursing. If you're in engineering, use professional engineering questions. So make it more real. I have guest speakers come in. My current course on Intro to Biomed Engineering, I have a couple biotech CEOs coming in to give talks to the students over Zoom to tell them about what it's like to run a biotech business. Journal articles, obviously in STEM, that's our currency, so having students read that. Case studies, I love case studies so much. The National Center for Case Study Teaching the Sciences, now hosted with NSTA, formerly with Buffalo. Great resource there to be able to, again, have stories and narratives and connect your work in STEM to the real world. I kind of took this idea of case studies and tweaked it a little bit. So I'm a big podcast guy since podcasts first came out on Apple in 2005. So I love podcasts. I like case studies. Let's call them pod cases. So I put them together. So I've made a bunch of these now. You can go to that tiny URL if you're curious and see. I got a few other teaching resources on there too. But the idea is it's like a case study, there's a narrative, but let's have an actual podcast to introduce students to a new person and literally hear them and see them sometimes as a video podcast. And then we talk about the content and the story, and then we come back to that person at the end of the class. Projects, obviously lots of different types of projects you can do that are realistic. Field trips, get students out to the real places where they're doing the work in the field, and then some hands-on experiences, whether it's lab or others. And again, I mentioned I've done a lot of these already, depending on different courses and different ways of doing it. But the piece that I want to talk to the rest of today about is the authentic assessment piece. Okay, so I think you can do a lot of this without actually assessing it, right? You can talk about the news, you can do a case study, you can read a paper, hands-on experiences. My anatomy students go to a cadaver lab, but you don't have necessarily to assess it sometimes. So what is authentic assessment? How do I do that? And I'm going to specifically focus on a couple projects I've developed for 2 of my courses. But first, what is authentic assessment? And there's a lot of different definitions of this out there, but I like this one from this article here. Authentic assessment aims to replicate the tasks and performance standards typically found in the world of work, and has been found to have a positive impact on student learning, autonomy, motivation, self-regulation, and metacognition, abilities highly related to employability. So this definition here, it's pretty specific, and it helps students with industry, helps them with their job, whatever that job might be in the future. But you can tweak this definition a little bit and make it a little bit more general. So this is from Wiggins, and this is from Wiggins and McTighe, the backwards design guys. So an assessment is authentic if it is realistic, okay, requires judgment and innovation, asks the student to do the subject, okay, replicates or simulates the context in which adults are tested in the workplace. So again, that connection to work or real life. Assesses the student's ability to efficiently and effectively use the repertoire of knowledge and skills to negotiate a complex task, and allows appropriate opportunities for practice, rehearse, consultation of resources, feedback, right? All things like that. Okay, and this website here from Indiana University is a wonderful place because it has a lot of practical tips on how to do authentic assessments. All right, so with all this in mind, I want to introduce you to a couple examples again. So first, we're going to add authentic assessment to anatomy and physiology. So another wonderful AI image. This one's kind of cute. I like to, for some reason, I have a couple kids myself. I like to do the kid cartoon ones with kid scientists. I think they're really funny. And I do these in my class. My students seem to like them too. All right, so how do I do this for anatomy and physiology? So I've been teaching this for a long time now. And this past fall, I tried a new thing with a health and wellness project. So there's a QR code if you want to get the files. It's actually the same link as that tiny URL link from before too. A bunch of resources on that page. But the idea here is that, right, we're learning about our bodies, we're learning about anatomy and physiology. Let's try to, as well, figure out how to connect that to our own health and wellness. So let's try to make ourselves better. All right, so in this past fall, what I did was I had about 60 students in this class. The components of the class was a project proposal. So around the end of week 2 or 3, they had to submit a 1-page template form. And again, all these files you can get on that website link there with the QR code if you're interested. Tell me about what you want to do. We had a mid-semester project check-in, which again was a 1-page template, and then a final submission, which the students had total choice over. I gave them 3 options: 2-page paper, like a traditional report, 1-page infographic flyer, like a visual flyer, or a 2-minute YouTube video. And just so if you're curious, about 70% wrote the paper, 30% made the flyer, and no one made the video. I thought for sure, let's bang out a 2-minute YouTube video, but no one did that. So that's what we ended up with. The other part of this project was to share the project with their friends and family. I think our students here at Mines are so gosh darn talented, doing so many cool things. I don't want them to stay here. I want them to share it out widely. So some students texted it to their mom. Some students posted on LinkedIn or made an Instagram post about it. But it was a great way for them to kind of broaden out a little bit of what they're doing here within their own health and wellness. And I did this too, just so you know. I followed along. I didn't make the final project or anything, but I did an intervention. Started doing crunches every day. Not a fan, but I did it every day because I knew they were doing interventions too. All right, here's a couple examples. So this is just, I know it's kind of hard to see, a little blurry here, but from one student, they did cold exposure. So we have a local creek down the road called Clear Creek. My one student, he would go down there almost every day and jump in the water, no matter how cold it was. And he was measuring here, in this case, heart rate to see what was going on here. Here's an example of one of the flyers. So chin-ups, doing chin-ups every day. And again, it's kind of hard to see, but this student, they actually showed how many chin-ups they could do over the semester. You see it going up, pretty cool. They got stronger. They also did some calculations, how much work they have to do per one chin-up. And then what I found really popular was of the flyers, students use these vertical ones, and you can make these on Canva. So here's one about posture correction and using your different back exercises to improve your posture. That's always a good thing. Trying to get bigger glutes. And again, you can see their graph, they're kind of blurry going up. And then also another polar plunge student here, seeing what's going on with the cold exposure. So I thought this was a great project for them because, again, it's taking what they're already hopefully doing and trying to take care of themselves, but let's put a little academic spin on it, tie it to the anatomy and physiology, try to help them become better humans. I had another idea though, too, for an authentic assessment here, which I haven't done yet. So you can give me feedback if I should do this one or not. But here's my other project idea for authentic assessment is, so it's like an and or thing. So it's going to be bro science or bro science, right? Okay, so you might have heard this term bro science out there. Things like, yeah, man, you do all these squats, you're going to get bigger pecs. That doesn't really make sense, right? So the idea of this project would be go on the internet, find some information out there, find some data and see, okay, is this an actual thing, right? Does it actually improve your health? Is it bro science or does it really actually do improve your health? Bro science. Bonus points for anyone in the chat if you know what movie that picture's from on the right. It's a little bit older now, it's a little bit dated, showing my age, but you know, one of my favorites growing up. So, okay, so that's another type of, oh, there we go. Oh, look at that. Everyone's got it. Suzanne and Jocelyn. All right, Lisa, thanks. Yeah, I don't know, Laura, is this the Excellent Adventure or the Bogus Journey? I think it's the first one, Excellent Adventure, but anyways, I digress. So just in the last couple of minutes here, another class I teach this in, oh, Kiana's the best, Annie, for sure. Adding authentic assessment to Intro to Biomedical Engineering. One thing I've learned this semester, AI cannot spell. So if the robots do overrule the world someday, they will not be able to make signs correctly, as you can see there. I don't know why, it never spells correctly. But in my Intro to Biomedical Engineering class, what I did here was introduce the NSF Graduate Research Fellowship Program proposal. So students are actually doing it, right? So I got 60 students this semester in this class. They're going to write the actual two-page research proposal component. We're not doing the personal essay, those of you that know this program. We're just doing the research proposal. And it's very structured. So this fits into the high structure model still because it's not, you know, weekly homework or weekly quizzes, but rather we're doing this in steps. So we're going to have, last week they turned the research topic and question. We did a hypothesis next week, a lit review, experimental design. We're going to have 2 rounds of peer review and feedback. And then instead of like an oral presentation at the end, we're going to do a mock panel review. I've never done this. I don't know how it's going to go, but thanks to Carter and Elise at Minds for giving me these ideas. But the mock panel review, right, will be just like a real NSF panel. We have rotating assigned a group of 6 students, 6 proposals. One student takes the lead. They pitch it to the other 5 and see if it gets funded or not, funded. Maybe we'll bring candy or something. And this, again, the first time I'm doing this, so not all the way done yet. We're at the hypothesis writing stage of the semester. We're in week 4. So I will report back if you're interested on how it goes in the end. The other piece, though, of authenticity with this class is I have a career exploration assignment where I'm having students make a LinkedIn profile, go to our career days, which is this Wednesday, and talk to a recruiter. And then a third part is interview a practicing person in the biomedical sciences and biomedical engineering and report back to the class on the discussion board about what they learned. So trying to figure out ways to give them formal opportunities to explore their careers early on when they might not be ready yet, but it's good to practice these types of skills. Okay, so just to wrap up here, how can you be authentic, right? So challenge yourself to make your courses and assessments more realistic and authentic. How would you do that? I gave you some ideas earlier. You know what you teach better than I do. There's probably different ways to do it. But again, authenticity, I think, is a really good thing, both in your personal life and in this type of teaching to make students buy in a little bit more. And then kind of a little pet peeve I have is here too, that students are just paying too much, right? I mean, college costs, keep on going up. They don't deserve less than stellar course experiences, right? We as faculty need to step it up. We got to use evidence-based practices like high structure, add authenticity. That helps make things worthwhile too. I published this article last year in Inside Higher Ed talking about this hypothetical calculation of how much students actually pay to attend your classes. It was kind of eye-opening for me. It's not a good calculation. It's pretty flawed, but it's a good exercise to make the argument that, yeah, students are paying a lot and we need to, again, do some great work here as what we can do as faculty. And that's what I'm trying to do too myself now, with another hat I wear. I do workshops and other things for other faculty to help try to promote evidence-based practices and improve course design, improve teaching with the ultimate goal, improving student outcomes. So with all that in mind, thank you all so much for having me today for this. And I hope the rest of the day goes well as it did earlier today. Please reach out if you like. Again, there's the QR code for the slides. And I think I might have a minute or two for questions. Sorry if we're not good on time though. Thank you all.
That was terrific, Justin. Thank you. Let's
Thank
see.
you.
Lots of great ideas. And let's see. Catch up with the questions here.
I think I got them all earlier. I know there were a couple as we were going, but
yeah, I think so. Thank you. That's terrific.
Yeah,
We will
thank you.